Welcome to all the viewers and learners. Today we are going to discuss an important topic called the protection of child rights and the role of important organization. This topic is covered under the course code VS 121 and the topic is children and growing up. Now, before we get into this discussion, let us understand who is children. Children, as per the definition of the Convention on Child Rights as well as various Indian laws, is below the 18 years of age. So, we will consider children for the purpose of discussion who is below the age of 18 years. Now, let us understand what type the type of children covered under our legal system. There are the children is classified under two broader heads. The first category is the children who comes into conflict with the law. And the second category is the child or children who are in need of care and protection. Now, first category refers to children who comes into conflict with law, means the children who commit petty crimes like theft to commission of heinous crimes like murder, because they are called the children coming into conflict with the law. That's one category apart. The second category about which we are going to discuss is the child in need of care and protection. Now, there are certain category of children who needs care and protection of all of us. The children, there are different reasons why they need care and protection. Maybe there are several given act. Maybe the children may be missing from their family or missing children. There are large number of children are coming in the missing children. They can be one group, or there may be children, say parentless children, or the children who have run away from their families, or the children like during the COVID pandemic. Many children have lost their parents. They become so helpless and nobody take care of them. Or even other natural calamities like flood. Like the flood is a very common phenomenon in India. Likewise, when during the flood, when they lost their parents and relatives, they become this say abandoned children. Likewise, there are several categories. There may be children who are under the care and custody of some people, but who wanted to exploit the children physically and sexually and otherwise also. So sometimes, when the children is even the street children, the children who are begging, they are coming under the category of children in need of care and protection. No, during the discussion, we will concentrate more on this category of children who are in need of care and protection of all of us, including the government machinery and institutional framework created under various laws. Now, let us discuss about the constitutional provisions dealing with children. Article 15(3) confers power upon the Parliament as well as state legislature to make special law or provision for children and also women. By virtue of conferment of power by the Parliament under this article, the Indian Parliament has enacted various child welfare related laws. The important laws are the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act enacted in 2015, then also this POSCO Act. Then there are various other laws have been enacted by and also this National Commission for Protection of Child Rights Act, which is a nodal agency for taking care of the children who are in need of care and protection as well as children who come into conflict with law. Now, that is the laws made by the legislature, Parliament, by virtue of power come to the Constitution, Article 15(3) is concerned. Now, another important constitutional provision dealing with children is the Article 21A, which provides free and compulsory education to all children between the age of 6 to 14 years. This is the article newly added by way of an amendment in the year 1986, in realizing the fact that education of all, including children, is very, very important for their growth and development, development is concerned. That's what this article was newly added in their year 1986. And the next article is the Article 24, which prohibits the employment of children below the age of 14 years they cannot be put into work in any factory or mine or engage in any other hazardous employment. That simply, this article prohibits engagement of the children as well as the employment children in the factory or mine which are hazardous in nature. So that was the child labor. Again, This is what the Constitution says, but we have the lot of number child labours about which we will discuss when we progress further. Then Article 39E. This article deals with that the tender age of children are not abused and that citizens are not forced by economic necessity to endeavour avocation unsuited to their age or strength. As per this comes under directive principle of the state policy, and this article imposes a affirmative duty upon the state to ensure that the children are not abused by anybody for physical abuse or mental abuse or sexual abuse, whatever it may be, even the financial abuse. And it also says that the citizen should not be forced by economic necessity to enter into any avocation unsuited to their age and strength. Now, the other important articles are, again, Article 39F comes under the directive of state policy, which says that the childhood and youth are protected against exploitation, against sexual exploitation and physical exploitation, and against moral and material abandonment. That's a very, very important. They should not be morally and materially, they should not be abandoned at all. Then Article 45 comes under again the directive principle of state policy. As per this article, the state is empowered to provide early childhood care and education for all children up to the age of 6 years. And then the next one comes under the fundamental duties, Article 51K, which imposes a responsibility of the parents or the guardian to provide opportunities to education to his child or award between the age of 6 and 14 years. As per this fundamental duty, even the parents can be held liable and responsible if they fail to send the children to the schools under as per the Right to Free Education Act. The responsibility can be fixed upon the parents if they fail to send the children to the school. Instead, they send them for any job or opportunities at all. This is what, in a nutshell, the constitutional provisions related to the children is concerned. Now, we will move into another major important provisions dealing with the children under the JJ Act is concerned. Now, what is as I said already, the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act is one of the important acts dealing with the welfare of the children who are coming into conflict with law or children who are in need of care and protection. More importantly, Section 3 is prescribed the general principle of care and protection to be taken into consideration by various agencies, including the central government, the state government, the Juvenile Justice Board, and other agencies. So, this child welfare committees, etc., all these bodies, they are to be guided by the fundamental principles that I will be listing out very shortly. That while implementing this, improving the provision, they are also the fundamental principles which I will be discussing with them. The fundamental principles to be observed or followed are as follows. Number one, the principles of presumption of innocence. That means whenever any body like Child Welfare Committee or the Juvenile Justice Board or the Child Care Home or the fit facility or whatever the other institutional mechanism provided, whenever they deal with the children, they should presume the child is innocent and they don't have any criminal intent to commit any offense or crime, and this is applicable for children up to the age of 18 years. So, that one, whenever they deal with any children, they should presume that the child is innocent and they don't have any criminal intention to commit any offenses. That is the presumption. They should start with presumption. They should not presume that the child is an offender. Very often, the authority, the machinery in the system, they presume the child is abandoned children, mean they are criminals only. No, as per the principles under the JJ Act, every child should be presumed innocent. They cannot commit any crime at all unless proved otherwise. This principle has to be followed. Then the second one is the principle of dignity and worth and enforcement of their right. Child has its own, children have their own dignity. They have their own worth. They have their own rights. So these authorities, they should recognize the child has a dignity and it should be protected and promoted, and their rights also be safeguarded. So that principle has to be followed. Then the next principle is the principle of participation. Child should be participated or involved in all the decision making process related to the child's growth and development. We cannot keep the child aside, then you cannot take or decide on any matters. For example, if the child has to be given to this, say, reserved for the adoption, but the willingness of the child should be first taken into consideration, whether the child is willing to be adopted by any other agency or not. Without taking the consent of the child, you cannot say send the children for adoption for a single. Similarly, your child, if you wanted to, the committee, the members or any of the authorities vested with the power, if they decide to send the children to the children home, first children's willingness has to be obtained. Consent has to be obtained. Otherwise, they cannot by force, they cannot do anything. That means, so therefore, participation, the principle of participation of children in all decision making is very, very important. That should be kept in mind. Then the best interest, principle of best interest. Whenever any decision has to be taken with regard to child in need of care and protection, the best interest of the child must be kept in mind. What are the best interest of the child? Is the providing, say, if they below 6 years, nutrition related activities. Then if they cross the age, then education. They should be given adequate education, primary, secondary education, higher education. Then health, important aspect. The authority should take care of the health of the children is concerned. Then various other aspects are there. So the interest of the child should be kept in mind at various stages while dealing with the children, whether in need of care and protection or children who come into conflict with law. Then the family responsibility. It should be always presumed that the children need the responsible family. That means the family members should take the responsibility of the children, abandoned children, or if the family is not there, then this adoptive parents, or if there is any guardians. So they should be the primary responsibility. Children lies with the family or the extended family or adopted family or the guardians only. The responsibility lies with them. The principle, the authority should follow the principle of this family. They should be associated with the family as early as possible or as quickly as possible. Then the next principle is the principle of safety. The safety of the child is very, very important. When the child is put into children home or any other places, the child is say thrown for vulnerabilities. The child may be abused. If the child is of tender age, they may be sexually exploited, or they may be physical, otherwise mentally they may be exploited. Even they may be put into hard labors and all. So when we deal with the children, their safety, when the child at tender age, younger age, they need care and protection, adequate protection related to their health. They need food and all things should be given. So their safety should be kept in the foremost in their mind whenever they deal with the children or taking any decision or speaking. Then the principle of positive measures, that the measures whenever they take, that measures should be in relation to the promotion of the child's growth and development only. Then the next principle they should be kept in mind is non-stigmatizing the sentiments of the children is concerned. Now, as I said earlier, we should not stigmatize the child is very bad, the child is a criminal, the child is useless. Likewise, the harsh stigmatic words should not be used against the child at all, because they are very, very young, they are very innocent. They should not be, say, stigmatized. They should not be given any attachment, any bad titles and all. So that will affect the morale of the children is concerned. Therefore, the principle is that they should be treated as a normal children, no stigma should be attached, and all these things should be avoided at all. This bad word should be avoided. Then the next principle is the non-waiver principle of non-waiver right. Non-waiver right, the children, like we have children also have several rights, fundamental rights, direct legal rights, constitutional rights, other several rights are there. But the rights, that means sometimes the child may not be in a position to enforce or enjoy his or her right. That does not mean that the child has waived its right, his or her rights. That means, so non-waiver means that the authority should not consider they cannot take away the rights of the children without his or consent and all. So that's the means they, even if they are in the care and protection of the children home or is concerned, they still retain their rights. Others cannot take it for granted that the rights may be violated as per their own will and pleasure and all. The next principle is the equality and non-discrimination. Equality refers to each and every child should be treated equally, and they should not be discriminated on the basis of gender or caste or color or national region, etc., etc. They should not be discriminated on any ground. Then right to privacy and confidentiality. The privacy of the child should be protected under all circumstances, and the confidentiality about the information has to be maintained, preserved. Even if the law is made is very clear, even while dealing with the children in the media, the name of the children or the identity of children should not be disclosed at all. So the details about the children, whereabouts, name and the rights and should be protected, and the information should be maintained strictly and confidentially. It should not be shared with any other agency or individual concern. Then institutionalization as a measure of last resort. Generally, whenever any abandoned child is a child in need of care and protection is taken into consideration by the agencies, they immediately look for placing the children under the institution. Maybe it may be children home, it may be a fit place for keeping them, or it may be any other open shelter, so on and so forth. There are several mechanisms provided in the law. But what the law says, the authorities under the law vested with the power to deal with the children in need of care protection, they should consider that putting the children in the various institutional mechanisms should be the last resort. That means before taking the extreme step of keeping them in institutional setup, they should try their hard and best to locate who are their real families, or is there any guardians, or is there any other safe place for them to be kept. So therefore, keeping them in the institutional setup should be kept as the last resort. That's what. Then another important principle is to be followed, the repatriation and restoration with the family members. That is very, very important. That each and every authority should make all out effort to repatriate the children, abandoned children or the children care of protection to their own family members, or if they are not to be located, their own near and kith and kin, or the guardians, or any other well-wishers. That will be. Then the next is the principle of fresh start, that the records related to the children should be erased completely whenever the child moves out of the home or otherwise also. There should not, past records should not be kept, or the child should not be treated based on the past records and all it should be. Then the next point is about the diversion. The diversion means, the child's the intention for growth and development should be focused on one point. There should not be diversion other than their growth and development is concerned. Then, as we all know, the principle of natural justice has to be followed. That principle of natural justice should be kept in mind while dealing with the child is concerned. Now we are coming to other important aspects of the role of important institutions, organizations, including the child care protection. They are just very briefly, I list it out. Child Welfare Committee, as I said, I might make it very clear. Initially I said there are two types of children. One category of children who come into conflict with law. For them, or to take up their to take care of them, the law provided for a mechanism called Juvenile Justice Board. That Juvenile Justice Board will take care of the children who come into conflict with the law. Whereas with the children who are in need of care and protection, their interest will be taken care of the Child Welfare Committee. This is what provided in the JJ Act is concerned. Now, under the Child Welfare Committee has a very broader functions and all. The Child Welfare Committee is consisting of the 4 members, 1 chairperson and 3 other members, and 1 person out of which 1 person should be a women member, and another person should be a person who is very well versed with the child related matters and all. These are the constitution of the Child Welfare Committee is concerned. Then the child welfare officer is authority vested with the power to take care of the welfare of the child is concerned. The children's home is created by the state government under each and for one district or more than one district, and for the purpose of keeping the children who come out of their home or otherwise, the children who are in need of care and protection below the age of 18 years. There are several child care institutions. They are called as children home, open shelter, observation home, special homes, safety place, the specialized adoption agency. There are several other child care institutions are there. The children court is meant for taking the matters related to the children is concerned. That's the children court that comes the post is concerned. Then district child protection unit. This is again a unit created under the law for the purpose of taking care of the interest and protection of the child is concerned. That is created under each and every district. And observation home, as I said already, it is established under each district by the state government for the purpose of making the children below the age of 18 years. Open shelter, it's an emergency sort of a thing where there is it's a permanent structure will not be there, where it's a sort of a transitory account before the child is, before a decision is taken to send the child to a particular type of child care institution, they will be kept under the open shelter. And the place of safety, again, it is for the people who are above the age of 18 years. But after completing their this period, when they go out, then they should be kept in a place of safety during the transitory period is concerned. Then authorized adoption agencies. There is, I talked, if the last resort for children is to be adopted by the Indian agency or the authorized foreign agency also. Then the probation officer, again officer created under the law for the purpose of taking care of the interest of the children is concerned. The state government agencies are also there. Special Jones police unit is also there for taking the interest of the children. Special homes are meant for the people with the specialized behavior, like disabled children or the people with the special needs, like mentally ill or a mentally retarded person. Special homes are meant for this. Then under non-governmental organizations, non-governmental organizations have a greater role to play in safeguard the interest of the children are concerned, and they have been, but the only thing, they should be registered with the state government under the law, and the registration is given for a period of 5 years, and after 5 years they can get registered themselves. And the state government also, if their own machinery system is not in a position to carry out the duties responsible under the law, they can entrust this response to the non-governmental organizations. Now, I talked about the Child Welfare Committee already and the procedure followed out. The Child Welfare Committee has all the powers to take decision in the interest of the children in need of care and protection. They include where to send the children, whom they should be sent, whether they should be provide financial assistance or not, whether need any medical help, or whether any other, whether they should be kept under the fit person or fit facility. All this, they have all the power to take in relation to the interest of the child is concerned. And their functions and reps are very vast and wide, that's provided under the Act is concerned. Now, procedure in relation to children and need for good, we have already very briefly, that each and child identified or located by anybody, they should be produced before the committee, that is the Child Welfare Committee, for the purpose of taking care of them. Then there is also a mandatory requirement regarding a child found separate from the guardian. That is that whenever a child is found separate from their guardian, it may be very often we can come on the news that the child is missing from the hospital or the nursing home, or if some place the children are kept thrown there, and they found that the child is placed under their area, under their domain, without any antecedent precedent. So whenever any child is found separate from their guardian, then it may be a children home, it may be any institutional setup, then they have a mandatory duty to report this matter to either within 24 hours to the nearest police station or the Child Welfare Committee or any other agency created in the law office concerned. And If they fail to say report within the period of 24 hours, then it is an offence, and that offence is punishable under the law as per the section 34 is concerned. Then surrender of the children. That if the parents, sometimes their parents they may not be in a position to provide good food, shelter, and education to the concern. So they themselves can surrender children to that this institution make up the child home, or they can produce before the child welfare committee and all. Then thereafter, then the child welfare committee take the matter, and they will proceed as per the law is concerned. That means where the child should be, what is the child need care and protection and all. Then these are the aspects to be completed and all. Then let me come to the last aspect. Rehabilitation and social integration is very, very important. The child should be as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, rehabilitated or restored with this biological family. That should be the foremost step. That the process for rehabilitation and social integration is very, very important, and that is discussed in the section 13 concern. Then restoration of child in need of care and protection is the primary responsibility of the child welfare committee. Then registration of child care institution, that we discuss, all the child care institution discussed, that should be registered, then only they will be legally recognized. Then if any institution is functioning without registration, action can be initiated against them and all. And the open shelter, children can be kept in the open shelter also. Then foster care, sponsorship, aftercare children leaving child care institutions, aftercare children of the children leaving after attaining the age of 18 years, they all to be rehabilitated and restored with the family members. There are special homes, or the place of safety, children homes. These are the institutional mechanism provided under the Act is concerned. Now, with this briefly, we are just by and large we covered that what are the law says or provides about the care and protect children's concern. Before I conclude, what is the role of the important national level institutions like National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, this NHS, National Commission for Human Rights, State Human Commission institutions? They have a power to even give directions to the state governments, even other agencies, to take actions if they found wanting. So that directions issued by this type of the national minister has to be followed meticulously by this child care institutions and all. But to conclude by saying that the child in need of care and protection should be given utmost importance by this various child care institution, and their interest should be kept in mind on top of it. As I said, that the principles, what principles they should follow, the principles of innocence, then their rights should be protected, their dignity should be preserved. All these principles have to be followed. On that principle, they should proceed to deal with the children are concerned. With this, let us conclude the discussion. I thank you, all of you, for listening this lecture.